2026 is around the corner. You guys might be thinking, like, honestly, 2025 wasn't the best year of my life, and that's why you're watching this video. And honestly, here are a couple of lessons that I want to really address because I want to also implement these myself in 2026. A lot of these lessons, it's either I was inconsistent or I had a bottleneck, and I'm going to be explaining exactly that could actually help you guys to make more progress in 2026 and help you to actually like really pave a new path for yourself. So if you've been struggling in 2025 or you feel like you weren't the best person in 2025 and you feel like things could be a lot way better, well, stay tuned for this video, right? So the first lesson, there are 7 lessons specifically, but the first one's having massive goals. I think a lot of young men specifically, especially people who are very ambitious and who have goals, a lot of us tend to have doubts creeping up. And that's completely fine. That's just the name of the game, too. If you want to hit like 30K months, 50K months, or your first 10K a month, of course you're going to have doubts in yourself. Of course, things are going to come up like fear. You might be procrastinating because of the fear. You got to understand that having massive goals really just boils down to you having the courage to stepping up to becoming that person you want to become. So you always have to act like that version specifically. And here's a little story in 2025, right? This year specifically, I could have made my first 10K a month. I was close to making 10K a month, but I could have done it this year. And the reason why I didn't do it specifically, it's because I let the fear of quote unquote failure getting to me. And what I also realized is that like that fear held me back from actually progressing and making lots of money this year. And I could have actually been in a way better position. But I started to really just take full ownership, which is lesson 2. You have to understand your own bottlenecks, your own strengths and weaknesses. You have to understand a lot about who you are as a person. Once you take full ownership and you stop making excuses, you start to understand that life is super easy. Life is simple if you could really just understand yourself. And I'm going to be honest, this is something I'm still working on. I'm not going to say that I mastered this myself. I do tend to make excuses here and there, but especially if you're in your 20s, you have to learn how to take the responsibilities. You have to learn how to take full ownership of everything you're doing in life because no one's coming to save you. If you think someone's gonna come and save you, you're cooked. That's just the reality of the game, right? Like no one's gonna save you. If you want to hit your first 10K a month, if you want to buy your own house, if you want to be able to start your own family, it just comes down to you taking responsibility, doing what's necessary no matter what, and taking full ownership and just not making any excuses. That's all, right? And this also comes down to like lesson 3, building the right habits in place, right? Because you could have 2 people. One person is someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. every single day and goes to bed at 9 a.m. 9 p.m. every single day, who eats very clean, hits the gym in the morning, works on his business, potentially works at 9 to 5, and has a really tight knit social group or social circle. Compared to the other person, person 2 or person B, whatever you call him, he's constantly waking up late. He's constantly sleeping at random times. He might be not eating healthy. He's not hitting the gym consistently. He's not doing what's necessary for him to actually put himself in a better position. And quite frankly, I'll be very transparent. This is something that I'm kind of struggling with, which is being very consistent with my own routine. So once 2026 hits, right, once it's January 1st, honestly, a lot of people say New Year, New Me. Honestly, I think it's bullshit. If you're watching this video right now, you need to start building the right foundation today, even if it's just small progress. Brick by brick, day by day, create the habits that you need to create in order for you to live your dream lifestyle. So you have to understand, who do you want to become? That's essentially you figuring out your desired outcome, right? Because your current situation is where you're at right now. Might be you not making money, you not having the right social circle, you not being able to look yourself in the mirror and be proud of the body that you have. And that's completely fine because that's your current situation. If you understand where you're at and you actually have the ability, the awareness to really understand that, that's good because that's step 1. But step 2 is figuring out your desired outcome. And like you acting as the person who already has that desired outcome. That's step 3. Because once you put yourself in that position where you shift your identity, that's going to help you to really just create these new habits very seamlessly and very easily. And lesson 4, this is very important because in 2025, I want to talk about simple financial foundations, something that I struggled with in 2025. I made a decent amount of money. I'm going to be honest, guys. Like, I traveled to California 5 times. But the thing is, I made the money, I invested into myself a lot of times as well as traveled, but I have nothing to show for it, meaning I don't have cash in my bank, right? And the thing is, like, simple financial foundations. In 2026, what I really want to do is have an emergency fund, right? A 6 month emergency fund. For example, if your expenses are 2K a month, times that by six, that's 12K. So imagine having 12K set aside for emergencies. Let's just say you work a 9 to 5, you get laid off, boom, you don't get a job for the next 3 months or 4 months. At least you have the emergency funds for you to be able to live life comfortably and not really worry too much on a day-to-day basis, and you can focus on applying to more jobs. So yeah, that's very important. And then on top of that, I want to also be able to have like a rainy day check, meaning let's just say a random bad day happens and I have to spend like $500 or $1,000 on that day. Boom, having that set aside is also very important. So that's something that I'm going to be incorporating next year. Having a 6 month emergency fund, being able to have a rainy day check, as well as being able to just save money overall, just being able to put myself in a position where I'm learning this new habit of saving money on a monthly basis, even if it's like $300 or $500 a month, it's better than nothing. And I also want to be able to focus on investing into, like, let's just say stocks or even crypto. So something that I'm looking into right now, because I notice a lot of people my age, I'm 23 years old, a lot of them are investing like 2K into stocks or like 2K into crypto each month. And the fact that they're able to do that at this age is incredible, in my opinion, because that's going to set them up for their future in the next 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. Imagine if you're able to do that. You're going to be set. You're going to be able to start a family in your 30s, and you're not going to really be stressing. So yeah, that's something that I really wanted to address. And then lesson 5, this is also very important, because if you're an ambitious person, we tend to overthink a lot of things. We tend to really forget to spend quality time with our loved ones too, right? Time management. That's lesson 5. Time management is very important, especially because here's an example about myself. I'm building an AI agency right now. I'm also about to land a closing role in the high ticket sales industry. So for me to really balance that, as well as the gym, as well as friends, and like being able to speak to my friends, family, and my loved ones, I have to learn how to time block my schedule very well and being strict with myself, which is completely fine, because I'd rather be strict with myself and my schedule for the next 2, 3 years and really grind it out, compared to having like more of a chaotic structure. Because that chaotic structure, I'm going to be losing a lot of time. And time is very, very valuable, especially if you're looking to really achieve massive goals in 2026 and the years beyond that, right? But yeah, that's something I really wanted to address. Being able to time block your schedule and being able to just stick to it and be consistent. And then when it comes to lesson 6, health and energy, very, very important. If you're constantly feeding yourself terrible food on a on a daily basis, of course your energy levels are going to be low. You want to think of yourself like an athlete. An athlete does not treat himself like shit. That's just the reality of the game. This guy, like, an athlete, could wake up at 5 a.m., train for 8 hours straight, and eat like a freaking, I don't know, like a monster. But at the same time, he's feeding himself nutritious food. So that's something I want to implement for sure, is being very, very consistent with eating healthy food, getting to 10 to 12% body fat, because I also want to get visible abs in 2026, and then really focusing on my health, which is getting more jacked and hitting the gym 6 times a week, and really gamifying the process. Because once you start to gamify the process, like, I was a gamer back then, guys, but once I start to gamify the process, which is literally tracking all my metrics, that's going to be fun, because you get to see like the progress bar going up every single day. Imagine like you hitting the gym 6 times a week. If you never tracked it, you might have missed like 2 sessions a week, 3 sessions a week, or 1 session a week, randomly on different weeks, and you might have never knew. But if you could track it, you're essentially holding yourself accountable, which is very important if you want to see tremendous growth. And the last lesson is execution. You have to execute. You have to have the courage. You have to have the balls. You have to literally overcome the fear of doubt, the fear of failure. You have to just execute no matter what. Fuck whatever you're feeling, which is you feeling the fear, the doubts creeping in constantly, especially if you're an entrepreneur, that's completely fine. If you could just execute, set 5 non-negotiables every single day, which is potentially like hitting the gym, eating healthy, working on your business, working on your sales ability, whatever it is. Pick 5 non-negotiables. If you could just execute on a daily basis, on a day-to-day basis, constantly just working on what you need to work on, and you're very consistent, within the next 6 to 12 months, I know your life will change. And that's something I really want to document too. I want to document my life in 2026 more. I want to be able to showcase that, hey, anyone can go from like 0 to 10K months. Anyone could go from 0 to 30K months. I'm currently building an AI agency, and I'm going to actually start cold calling today. I know for a fact that I want to land my first 3 clients in January and reinvest all the money I make into my business. And I know it's very possible. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do it. And I want you guys to also see the process. I want you guys to also learn and really just take massive action in 2026 for you to actually change your lifestyle too. That's all. Peace.